Today is not an ordinary day, and this is not an ordinary message. There is a reason these words are reaching you today, on January 19th, and there is a reason the message comes wrapped in urgency. Only 15 minutes left. That phrase is not meant to create fear, but awareness. In the spiritual realm, timing is everything. Doors do not stay open forever, and moments like this arrive quietly, often unnoticed by the world, but loudly announced in the spirit. Archangel Michael is stepping forward now, not tomorrow, not later, but in this exact window of time, because something sacred is aligning. Someone is preparing to propose to you. This is not symbolic. This is not imagination. This is a real person, with real intentions, standing at the edge of a decision that has been forming far longer than you realize. The reason this message matters so deeply is because it is not about forcing an outcome, but about recognition. Heaven operates through awareness. When you become conscious of what is unfolding, you step into alignment with it. When you ignore it, you don't lose love, but you lose clarity. The words, "if you miss this message, you'll never know who they are not a threat. They are a revelation about how divine encounters work. God will never override free will. Archangel Michael will never drag destiny into your hands. But he will warn you when a moment requires your attention. And this moment does. There hath been movement behind the scenes that you could not see. Conversations in the heart. Prayers whispered late at night. Doubts wrestled with. Courage slowly built. This person did not wake up yesterday and decide this. They have been carrying you in their thoughts for a long time, weighing the cost, asking God for confirmation, waiting for the right internal signal to move forward. What changed is not their feelings. What changed is the spiritual permission. The resistance that once blocked them hath been lifted. The fear that once held them back has begun to loosen. And Archangel Michael, the guardian of divine order and protection, is involved because this decision carries weight. It affects two destinies, not one. January 19th carries a spiritual urgency because it marks a crossing point, a shift from preparation into action, a line between almost and now. That is why the time window is mentioned, not because the opportunity expires in minutes, but because your awareness is being activated now. There are moments when heaven speaks softly and moments when it speaks urgently. This is the second kind. If you are hearing this, it means you are spiritually receptive enough to receive it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time, but only if you choose to be present. This message found you because your spirit was already asking questions. You may have felt a strange pull today, an unexplained restlessness, a sense that something was about to happen, even if you couldn't name it. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. When Archangel Michael speaks, it is often to alert, to guard, and to prepare. He does not bring confusion. He brings clarity. And the clarity today is this: someone sees you as their future, not as an option, not as a maybe, but as a commitment worth risking vulnerability for. The reason this has not happened yet is not because you were overlooked. It is because timing had to mature. Hearts had to be strengthened. Circumstances had to be arranged. And you had to be ready to recognize what is coming without fear, without doubt, without dismissing it as too good or too sudden. The danger is not rejection. The danger is unawareness. When you are unaware, signs pass unnoticed. When you are unaware, people stay hidden. That is why this message exists. Not to rush you, but to awaken you. Archangel Michael is not revealing names or faces yet, because this is not about control. It is about preparation. Your posture matters. Your openness matters. Your willingness to receive without suspicion matters. When heaven alerts you before an earthly action occurs, it is an invitation to align your heart so that when the moment arrives, you recognize it. Not with shock, but with peace. Not with fear, but with confirmation. There is nothing you need to do right now except listen. Let these words settle. Let your spirit become attentive. The next signs will be subtle, not dramatic. A shift in communication. A sudden courage in someone who was once hesitant. A moment that feels heavier than it should, because it carries meaning. This message is the first knock. Awareness is the key that opens the door. This is why it is important. This is why it is urgent. And this is why you are hearing it now. Something real is approaching. Something intentional. Something protected. And today marks the moment you are made aware that love is not wandering aimlessly. It is moving toward you with purpose. There is a reason this message did not reach everyone. Thousands may scroll past similar words and feel nothing, but you stop. Something in you paused. Something in you leaned in. That is not random. That is recognition. Messages like this are not broadcast blindly. They land where the soil is ready. You are here because your spirit is awake enough to hear what others would dismiss. Archangel Michael does not interrupt lives without cause. He intervenes when timing intersects with readiness, and right now, both are meeting in you. You may wonder why this message found you when you weren't even searching for it. That is how divine alignment works. God does not always respond to spoken prayers. Sometimes He responds to silent longing, to questions you never said out loud, to moments when you felt unseen but kept believing anyway. This message found you because your heart has been asking for clarity, not noise. Truth, not illusion. Something real, not temporary. And heaven heard that request. There is also something important you need to understand. This message is not here to convince you of something new, but to confirm something you already sensed. Deep down, you have known that someone has been watching from a distance, weighing their words carefully, fighting their own hesitation. You may have felt their energy before you saw their intention. You may have noticed subtle shifts, an increase in attention, a softness where there was once restraint, a seriousness that wasn't there before. These are not accidents. These are signs of preparation. Archangel Michael steps in when protection is needed. It tells us something powerful about this situation. This is not a casual interest. This is not a fleeting attraction. This is a moment that required spiritual covering because it involves vulnerability, truth, and a decision that cannot be undone easily. Someone is preparing to propose not just words, but a future. And proposals like that shake both people involved. Fear rises. Old wounds surface. Doubts whisper. That is why protection was necessary, and that is why you are being made aware now. You are not being asked to chase anyone. You are not being asked to force a conversation or demand answers. Your role is awareness and alignment. When you are aware, your responses change. Your energy shifts. Your discernment sharpens. You stop dismissing moments that matter. You stop minimizing gestures that carry intention. You stop assuming it's probably nothing when it is clearly something. Awareness allows you to receive instead of overlook. This message also serves another purpose, to remove self-doubt. Many people miss divine moments not because the opportunity wasn't real, but because they didn't believe they were worthy of it. If you have ever questioned whether someone could truly choose you, fully and intentionally, this message confronts that doubt directly. Someone is preparing to do exactly that. Not because you are perfect, but because you are genuine. Not because you are flawless, but because you are real. And that matters more than you think. You may feel a mix of emotions right now: curiosity, hesitation, hope, even a little fear. That is normal. When something meaningful approaches, the soul reacts before the mind catches up. Do not push those feelings away. Sit with them. Let them reveal what you truly desire and what you have been protecting yourself from. This is not about rushing into anything. It is about being honest with yourself about what you are ready to receive. And here is where your participation matters. Not because heaven needs your validation, but because engagement is a form of alignment. When you acknowledge a message, you signal readiness. That is why moments like this often ask for response. If this message resonates with you, take a second to engage with it. Like this message so it stays with you. Share it if you feel someone else may need it. Subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to messages meant for you. These actions are not about a platform. They are about you choosing to stay aligned with what is unfolding. You are not here by accident, and you are not early or late. You are precisely where you need to be to recognize what is coming. The more present you are, the clearer the signs will become. The more open you remain, the less fear will have power over you. This is not about pressure. It is about preparation. Someone is closer to stepping forward than you realize. Their courage is building. Their words are forming. And when they finally speak, it will not feel random. It will feel confirmed. This part of the message exists to help you recognize that moment when it arrives, so you do not dismiss it, doubt it, or delay it unnecessarily. What comes next will go deeper. We are about to uncover what has been happening in the unseen, and why this proposal carries more meaning than you expect. The foundation has been laid. The awareness has been activated. And now, the story begins to unfold. Here is something you need to understand now. Something that has been unfolding quietly while your life continued on the surface. This connection did not begin recently. It began in the unseen. Long before words were spoken or actions were taken, there was a stirring in the heart of someone who could not ignore you anymore. They tried to rationalize it. They tried to delay it. They told themselves it was not the right time, that they needed to be more stable, more confident, more prepared. But the feeling did not leave. It stayed. It grew. And eventually, it demanded attention. This person has been preparing in ways you could not see. Not rehearsing lines, but wrestling with courage. Not planning grand gestures, but confronting their own fears. They asked themselves hard questions late at night. What if I lose them? What if I'm not enough? What if this changes everything? These questions did not stop them. They refined them. Every doubt forced them to become more intentional. Every hesitation pushed them to seek clarity rather than comfort. What makes this different from past situations is the depth of intention. This is not someone acting on impulse or emotion alone. This is someone who has weighed the cost of stepping forward and decided that you are worth the risk. They have imagined what life would look like with you in it, not just in moments of happiness, but in seasons of challenge. They have considered commitment, not just attraction. That is why the energy feels heavier, more serious, more deliberate than anything you may have experienced before. Their silence was never indifference. It was preparation. They didn't want to approach you halfway. They didn't want to speak before they were ready to stand behind their words. So they waited. They worked on themselves. They asked God for confirmation, not once but repeatedly. And when fear rose, they did not run from it. They face it. That is how you know this is real. Real intentions always require inner transformation. You may be wondering why you didn't notice sooner. The truth is you did, but you questioned yourself. You sensed moments of attention that felt different. You noticed an emotional undercurrent that didn't match casual behavior. You felt a connection that didn't fully reveal itself. But you told yourself not to read into it, not to assume, not to hope too much. This message exists to tell you that your intuition was not wrong. It was simply ahead of the visible evidence. Archangel Michael's involvement points to something else: protection over timing. There were moments when this person almost spoke too soon, driven by emotion rather than readiness. There were moments when fear almost caused them to retreat completely. In both cases, intervention was needed. Not to manipulate the outcome, but to preserve it. Divine protection does not rush what needs maturity, and it does not delay what is ready. It guards the balance. Right now, this person is standing at a threshold. The decision has been made internally. What remains is execution. The courage to step forward. The courage to be seen. The courage to risk rejection for the chance of something lasting. And that courage is building. Slowly, steadily, irreversibly. You may notice subtle changes soon. More direct communication, less hesitation, a seriousness that feels unmistakable. These are the signs of someone moving from intention into action. Your role in this moment is not to analyze every detail, but to remain open. Openness is not weakness. It is readiness. When you are open, you allow things to reveal themselves naturally. You don't force clarity. You recognize it when it arrives. You don't chase answers, you receive them. This is a season of observation, not reaction. Awareness, not anxiety. There is also something important being healed right now. Both of you have carried past disappointments that made trust feel risky. That healing is part of the preparation. Without it, the proposal would feel heavy instead of hopeful. But with it, the moment will feel grounded, sincere, and strangely familiar, as if something long-awaited has finally arrived. What you are stepping into is not a surprise, but a confirmation. When it happens, your spirit will recognize it before your mind catches up. There will be a calm beneath the excitement, a sense of rightness that doesn't need explanation. That is how you will know this was not random. Hold on. What comes next changes everything, because the unseen movement is about to become visible. Type "I receive" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 314 is now activated. This moment you are witnessing is not just for you. It is light meant to reach many hearts still waiting for confirmation. When you give, you are sowing seed into souls that feel forgotten, and God is already preparing the harvest. The word says He gives seed to the sower, and right now, He is speaking directly to you as one who carries oil for others. I am inviting you personally to become part of this divine flow, not later, but now. Your support through super thanks, channel membership, or PayPal becomes a prophetic act that keeps this message moving across the earth. The PayPal donation link is in the description, and you may see the PayPal QR code appear as this message goes forth. I release blessing over every giver. May open heavens follow your obedience. Step forward and act now. There is a deeper layer to this message that must now be revealed, because what is happening is not only emotional or circumstantial, it is spiritual. Archangel Michael's presence is not symbolic here. His involvement signals that this connection had been under protection because it has passed through opposition. Whenever something carries destiny-level weight, resistance appears. Not always from people, but from fear, past wounds, and unseen pressures that attempt to delay what is meant to unfold. What you are stepping into has already survived a battle you never saw. Archangel Michael is known as the Defender, the one who stands at the threshold between chaos and divine order. When he guards something, it means that timing matters, purity of intention matters, and outcome matters. This connection required guarding because it was vulnerable during its formation. There were moments when misunderstanding could have ended it before it began. Moments when insecurity could have distorted perception. Moments when outside voices could have influenced decisions. Protection was necessary not because the bond was weak, but because it was valuable. The person preparing to propose has gone through an internal refining process. This was not accidental. Before someone can offer a future to another, they must confront the parts of themselves that fear commitment, responsibility, and permanence. That confrontation is never comfortable. It exposes old patterns, unresolved grief, and memories of loss. But those very struggles are what strengthen their resolve. They did not emerge unchanged. They emerged clearer. There was a season when delay felt heavy, when nothing seemed to move forward. During that time, Archangel Michael's role was to hold back premature action. Acting too soon would have created confusion rather than clarity. The proposal would have been filled with uncertainty instead of confidence. So there was restraint, silence, waiting. Not as punishment, but as protection. What is delayed by heaven is not denied. It is prepared. You may have sensed this delay as distance, or hesitation, or mixed signals. It may have made you question whether anything was truly happening at all. That uncertainty was not meant to push you away, but to protect both of you from entering something before it was ready to stand. Now that season is ending. The restraint is lifting. The protection remains, but its role is shifting, from guarding against premature action to supporting courageous movement. This is why things are beginning to feel different. The energy around this connection is stabilizing. Where there was once tension, there is calm. Where there was once fear, there is resolve. These are signs of spiritual alignment. Archangel Michael does not remove fear by force. He replaces it with truth. And the truth now is that this connection can withstand what once threatened it. You are also being protected in this process. Awareness without protection can overwhelm. That is why clarity is coming gradually, not all at once. You are being given just enough understanding to stay open without becoming anxious, hopeful without becoming attached to an outcome, prepared without becoming impatient. This balance is intentional. It allows you to receive what comes without losing yourself in anticipation. There is something sacred about the way this proposal is forming. It is not driven by pressure or expectation, but by conviction. The person preparing has reached a point where not speaking feels heavier than speaking, where silence feels like disobedience to their own heart. That shift is crucial. It marks the transition from internal struggle to external action. Once that line is crossed, movement becomes inevitable. You do not need to test this moment or question it endlessly. Discernment is already active within you. When the time comes, you will not need proof through drama or grand signs. The confirmation will come through peace, through consistency, through words that align with actions, through a sense of being chosen without condition. That is how protected connections reveal themselves. This is also a moment of release. Release of old narratives that told you love must be chaotic to be real. Release of the belief that commitment always comes with loss. Release of the expectation that something must hurt to matter. What is approaching carries steadiness, not instability. Intention, not confusion. And that may feel unfamiliar if your past hath been marked by unpredictability. But unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. Sometimes it means healed. Archangel Michael stands not only as a guardian of this union, but as a reminder that what is meant for you does not arrive in disorder. It arrives with alignment, with clarity, with timing that makes sense in hindsight, even if it felt so while unfolding. You are entering the phase where the unseen becomes seen, where preparation becomes action, and where protection shifts into blessing. Nothing has been wasted. No waiting period was meaningless. No silence was empty. Everything has been building toward a moment where two hearts can meet without fear dominating the exchange. And as this unfolds, you will realize that what once felt like delay was actually divine precision at work. Now that you understand what hath been happening beneath the surface, it is time to talk about the signs you have already been receiving, because they did not begin today. They began quietly, subtly, woven into your daily life in ways that were easy to overlook if you weren't paying attention. Heaven rarely announces itself with noise. More often, it whispers through patterns, impressions, and moments that linger longer than they should. You have been noticing these signs, even if you did not label them as such. One of the first signs was repetition. The same thoughts returning again and again, even when you tried to redirect your focus. A particular person crossing your mind at unexpected times, not in a fleeting way, but with a weight that made you pause. You may have asked yourself why this person kept appearing in your awareness without invitation. That persistence was not random. Repetition is one of the Spirit's clearest signals that something is active and unresolved, moving toward manifestation. Another sign came through emotional shifts you could not explain. Moments when your mood changed suddenly without an obvious cause. A sense of anticipation without a clear reason. A calm that arrived in the middle of uncertainty. These were not mood swings. They were responses. When two lives begin aligning, the soul reacts before the situation becomes visible. Your emotions were responding to movement you could not yet see. You may also have noticed changes in how certain interactions felt. Conversations that once felt casual suddenly carried depth. Silence that once felt empty began to feel charged, as if something unspoken was present. Even brief exchanges may have lingered in your thoughts longer than expected. These are signs of intention forming. When someone's heart shifts from observation to decision, the energy around them changes, and sensitive spirits feel it. Dreams may have played a role as well. Not always clear or literal, but symbolic. Dreams of connection, of reunion, of being understood. Or dreams where a familiar presence appeared without explanation. Dreams are often used when the conscious mind is too busy to receive. They bypass logic and speak directly to the inner self. If you have woken up from dreams feeling emotional or contemplative without knowing why, that was part of the signaling. Numbers, timing, and synchronicities may also have followed you. Seeing the same numbers repeatedly. Glancing at the clock at meaningful moments. Encountering phrases, psalms, or messages that mirrored what you were feeling internally. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations designed to keep you attentive without overwhelming you. Gentle reminders that something is aligning, even if you don't yet know the full picture. There were also moments of hesitation within you that didn't come from fear, but from sensing change. A feeling of standing at the edge of something without knowing what it was. A subtle pause before moving forward in other areas of your life. This happens when the soul senses an incoming shift and instinctively slows down to receive it. You may have wondered why certain plans stalled or why you felt prompted to wait instead of push. But waiting created space. Not every sign came as comfort. Some came as tension. A stirring of old doubts. Questions about readiness. reflections on what you truly want and what you will no longer accept. These were preparatory signs, refining your discernment. Before something meaningful enters, clarity about boundaries and values is activated. You were being prepared to recognize quality, not just chemistry. It is important to understand that signs are not meant to force belief. They are meant to invite awareness. That is why they were subtle. Had they been overwhelming, they might have triggered fear or expectation rather than readiness. Instead, they came like breadcrumbs, leading you gently to this moment of understanding. Now, looking back, you can see the pattern more clearly. What once felt confusing begins to make sense. You may have also noticed a shift in how you view yourself. A quiet strengthening of self-worth. A sense that you no longer need to prove yourself or chase validation. This internal change is one of the most important signs of all. When someone is about to choose you intentionally, your spirit prepares by settling into its own value. You stop questioning whether you are enough because you are about to be reminded that you are. All of these signs were not meant to reveal everything at once. They were meant to keep you open, attentive, and aligned. And now that this message has found you, the signs will begin to sharpen. What was once subtle will become clear. What once felt ambiguous will feel intentional. You will start recognizing patterns as communication rather than coincidence. This is the moment when awareness catches up with alignment. You are not starting from zero. You are stepping into understanding what has been building for some time. The signs were real. Your intuition was active. Your spirit was responding correctly. Nothing was imagined. Nothing was wasted. As we move forward, you will learn how to discern which signs matter most and how to respond without fear or overthinking. Because what is approaching does not require you to decode endlessly. It requires you to remain present, grounded, and open. And with that posture, recognition will come naturally, without confusion. The next part will reveal why this person has remained hidden until now, and what needed to happen within them before they could step forward without hesitation. There is a reason this person has remained hidden for so long, and it has nothing to do with uncertainty about you. It has everything to do with the weight of what they intend to offer. Some people speak quickly because their words carry little cost. Others remain silent because they understand that once spoken, certain words change everything. This person falls into the second category. They did not want to approach you with half clarity or half commitment. They understood that stepping forward meant altering the direction of both of your lives, and that is not something they were willing to do lightly. At the core of their delay was fear, but not the kind that runs away. It was the kind that pauses, evaluates, and asks difficult questions. Fear of repeating past mistakes. Fear of offering something before they were ready to sustain it. Fear of hurting you unintentionally. These fears did not paralyze them, they matured them. Instead of rushing forward, they turned inward. They examined their patterns, their expectations, and their capacity for responsibility. That inner work was necessary, even though it kept them silent longer than you expected. Another reason for their hiddenness was timing. Not emotional timing, but life timing. There were practical matters that needed to align: stability, closure, readiness. They understood that love without foundation can become a burden instead of a blessing. So they waited until their footing felt steady enough to support not just their own future, but a shared one. This kind of patience is rare, and it often goes unnoticed because it looks like distance from the outside. They were also waiting for internal confirmation, not a sign to feel something. They already felt it, but a sign to act on it. For them, action required peace, not just desire. Until their fear softened into resolve, they refused to move. That internal shift takes time, especially for someone who values integrity. They needed to know that when they spoke, they would not retreat at the first sign of vulnerability. Silence was safer than speaking prematurely and then hesitating. There is also a deeper layer, protection of you. They did not want to awaken hope before they could honor it. They did not want to draw you into uncertainty while they were still finding clarity. In their own way, their distance was an act of care. They chose to wrestle privately rather than involve you in a process that could have been confusing or emotionally taxing. And choice required restraint, and restraint often looks like absence. You may have felt this hiddenness as ambiguity. Moments when you sensed something was there but couldn't quite touch it. The tension was real. It existed because two truths were present at the same time. The intention was forming, and the timing was not yet complete. When those two truths coexist, the result is often quiet waiting rather than visible movement. Now, that balance is shifting. What changed is not the feeling but the readiness to be seen. The internal work has reached a point of completion. The fears that once demanded attention no longer dominate the conversation in their mind. They have accepted that certainty does not mean absence of risk. It means willingness to move forward despite it. That realization marks the end of hiddenness and the beginning of approach. You should also know that this delay has served you as well. During this time, you have grown more discerning. You have clarified your values. You have learned what you will and will not accept. This preparation ensures that when this person steps forward, you meet them with clarity rather than projection. You are not looking for someone to fill a void. You are prepared to recognize a partner who complements your life. The hidden season protected the connection from external interference. There were influences that could have distorted perception if things had unfolded earlier. Opinions, misunderstandings, unresolved emotions. By waiting, those influences lost their power. What remains now is a clearer path, less cluttered by noise and assumption. This creates space for a cleaner beginning, grounded in honesty rather than reaction. It is important not to romanticize the delay or resent it. It was neither punishment nor neglect. It was preparation. When something meaningful takes time, it often arrives with depth rather than drama. The reveal will not feel chaotic or rushed. It will feel deliberate, measured, and sincere. That tone is the result of everything that happened in the hidden season. As this person prepares to step out of concealment, you may notice a change in their energy before their words change. Increased presence, more consistency, a willingness to engage more openly. These are signs that the hidden phase is ending. The shift will feel natural, not forced, because it is aligned with internal readiness. This part of the journey is about understanding, not judgment. Once you see why the delay existed, it becomes easier to receive what comes next without suspicion or frustration. You are not being asked to overlook the past, but to understand it in context. And with that understanding, you will be able to respond from a place of grounded awareness rather than guarded uncertainty. What follows will explore the consequences of ignoring this moment of awareness, not to create fear, but to illuminate why recognition matters when timing presents itself. And now we must speak honestly about what it means to ignore this moment, not to create fear, but to bring clarity. The phrase "you'll never know who they are" does not mean that love disappears or that destiny is cruel. It means something more subtle and more important. In the spiritual realm, recognition is what activates revelation. When a moment presents itself and goes unnoticed, the opportunity does not always vanish, but it changes form. What could have been clear becomes vague. What could have been named becomes hidden. Awareness is the bridge between intention and manifestation. Ignoring this message would not cancel what is forming, but it would remove your ability to recognize it when it arrives. And that is often how people miss what was meant for them, not because it never came, but because it arrived unrecognized. When awareness is absent, signals are misread. Courage is mistaken for coincidence. Intentional gestures are brushed off as casual. Words meant to open a door are heard as ordinary conversation. The person still exists. The intention may still surface, but the clarity is lost. Free will plays a powerful role here. Heaven does not force understanding. He offers it. This message is an offering of awareness, not an ultimatum. If you choose not to receive it, life continues. But the lens through which you perceive what comes next remains unchanged. You continue seeing through past expectations, old patterns, and familiar assumptions. That makes it harder to discern when something different appears. There have been moments in the past when something important crossed your path and you didn't recognize it until later. You looked back and thought, that meant more than I realized at the time. This is how unrecognized moments often reveal themselves in hindsight. But not all moments return for review. Some pass quietly, leaving only a faint sense that something meaningful was nearby. This is not about punishment. It is about alignment. When you are aligned, recognition happens naturally. When you are distracted or closed, clarity blurs. The cost of ignoring awareness is not loss, but confusion. You may still encounter the person, but without understanding their intention. You may still experience the moment, but without perceiving its significance. That is what never knowing who they are truly means, not absence but lack of revelation. Another consequence of ignoring this message is remaining in patterns that no longer serve you. Awareness disrupts patterns. It challenges assumptions. It invites you to respond differently. Without it, familiarity continues to guide your reactions. You may default to skepticism when openness is required, or indifference when attentiveness is needed. Patterns are comfortable, but they often filter out what is new. This moment is also about self-trust. You have an intuitive ability to sense when something carries weight. Ignoring this message would reinforce doubt in that ability. Receiving it strengthens discernment. When you honor your intuition, it becomes clearer. When you dismiss it, it quiets. Over time, that quieting makes it harder to recognize subtle but meaningful shifts in your life. It is important to understand that recognition does not mean immediate action. You are not being asked to respond impulsively or change your behavior overnight. Recognition simply means staying present, paying attention, allowing things to reveal themselves without forcing an outcome. Ignoring awareness removes that presence and replaces it with autopilot. There is also a relational consequence. When someone approaches with intention and senses that their depth is not being recognized, they may retreat inwardly, even if they remain outwardly present. Not because they are rejected, but because they feel unseen. Recognition is a form of acknowledgement that tells someone, I see what this costs you. Without it, courage can lose momentum. This message exists to prevent that disconnect. It is meant to sharpen perception, not create pressure. You are being given context so that when a meaningful moment arrives, you don't minimize it. So you don't dismiss it as nothing special. So you don't overlook sincerity because it arrives quietly rather than dramatically. Ignoring this message would not make you wrong or unworthy. It would simply keep things ambiguous. And ambiguity is where clarity goes to fade. The unseen remains unseen, not because it isn't there, but because the eyes are not looking in the right way. Recognition is an act of participation. It says, I'm paying attention. That alone changes how events unfold. When awareness is present, alignment follows more easily. Conversations become clear. Intentions become visible. Timing makes sense. This is why this moment matters. Not because something will disappear, but because something is ready to be seen. Awareness is the key that unlocks understanding. Without it, the door may still open, but you may walk past without realizing what stood before you. What comes next will show you what happens when this message is received, how clarity begins to replace uncertainty, and how subtle shifts start taking place almost immediately when awareness is activated. When this message is received fully, something begins to shift almost immediately, not always in dramatic ways, but in subtle, unmistakable movements that ripple through your inner world first. The moment awareness is activated, alignment follows. You may not see instant external change, but internally, clarity replaces confusion. The noise quiets. A second-guessing softens. You begin to feel grounded instead of restless, attentive instead of distracted. This is how alignment announces itself, not loudly, but steadily. One of the first changes you may notice is a heightened sense of discernment. Situations that once felt unclear begin to sort themselves naturally. You start recognizing what deserves your energy and what does not. Conversations feel more transparent. Intentions become easier to read. This is not because others suddenly change, but because your perception sharpens. Awareness acts like a lens, bringing what was already there into focus. You may also feel an unexpected peace settle in. Not the kind that comes from having all the answers, but the kind that comes from trusting the process. This peace is important because it signals readiness. When the heart is at peace, it can receive without clinging and listen without fear. That state allows what is meant for you to approach without resistance. Anxiety repels clarity, peace invites it. Another shift that often occurs is an increase in meaningful synchronicities. Not coincidences meant to oppress, but confirmations meant to reassure. You may notice timing aligning in small ways. Words spoken that echo what you've been contemplating. Moments that feel gently guided rather than forced. These are signs that you are no longer moving against the current, but with it. As awareness settles in, your reactions begin to change. Where you once might have dismissed something as insignificant, you now pause. Where you once might have overanalyzed, you now observe. This balanced posture is crucial. It allows connection to unfold naturally, without pressure or projection. You become receptive rather than reactive. This is also when emotional clarity begins to replace old narratives. Stories you once told yourself about how things always go start losing their hold. You realize that past patterns do not dictate future outcomes. What is unfolding now is not a repetition. It is a progression. That realization alone can lift a weight you didn't know you were carrying. You may find yourself more present in interactions, listening more deeply, responding more thoughtfully, not because you are trying to impress or anticipate, but because you are attuned. Presence creates space for authenticity, and authenticity is where real intention reveals itself. When someone approaches with sincerity, presence recognizes it instantly. Another important shift is a sense of inner permission. You stop guarding yourself against something that hasn't even happened yet. You allow curiosity without fear, hope without attachment. This balance is powerful. It keeps your heart open without making it vulnerable to illusion. It allows you to receive truth as it is, not as you fear it might be. Externally, things may begin to move subtly. Communication may increase. A tone may change. Someone who was once reserved may become more consistent, more intentional. These are not random developments. They are responses to alignment. When one side becomes aware and open, The other often finds courage more easily. Energy responds to energy. Receiving this message also means releasing urgency. Paradoxically, awareness removes pressure. You no longer feel the need to rush clarity because you trust it will reveal itself at the right moment. This patience is not passive, it is confident. It communicates readiness without demand. What you are stepping into now is a phase of gentle unfolding. Nothing forced, nothing right. Just truth moving forward at a sustainable pace. This is how meaningful connections form, through alignment, not anxiety. And as this continues, you will notice that what once felt uncertain now feels guided. What once felt hidden now feels close. Not because everything is revealed at once, but because you are positioned to recognize it when it is. You'll be glad you stayed for what's about to be revealed, because the clarity that follows awareness changes how everything unfolds from here. Type "I am ready" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 582 is now activated. What you are receiving right now is light, and light is meant to travel. When you give, you become a vessel that carries this message to souls who are still waiting in silence. God is speaking through this moment, reminding you that when seed is released, harvest is guaranteed. I am speaking to you directly. This is your invitation to move as heaven moves. Your super thanks, membership support, or PayPal gift becomes a prophetic response, not a donation. The PayPal link is waiting in the description, and the PayPal QR code appears as a door for immediate obedience. I bless every giver now. May your hands never be empty and your heart never lack peace. Act now and release what has been placed in you. Now we arrive at a turning point where awareness must become response. Up until now, everything has been about recognition, preparation, and alignment. But what happens next depends on how you respond to what you now see. This is not about effort or control. It is about posture. Response is the quiet agreement between your inner awareness and what is unfolding externally. And that agreement creates movement. Many people assume that divine timing works independently of human response, but that is not how alignment operates. Heaven opens windows, but humans decide whether to stand near them or walk past them distracted. Your response does not force an outcome, and it does not rush what is still forming. Instead, it signals readiness. It tells the unseen realm that you are attentive, present, and willing to recognize truth when it appears. Response begins internally before it ever becomes visible. It starts with a decision to stay aware rather than slipping back into autopilot. To notice shifts instead of dismissing them. To allow curiosity without letting fear hijack it. This internal response recalibrates your perception and changes how you interpret moments, words, and energy. Where you once might have brushed something off as insignificant, you now pause. Where you once might have overanalyzed, you now observe calmly. This matters because clarity often reveals itself quietly. It does not announce itself loudly or dramatically. It shows up in consistency, tone, timing, and intention. If your response is distracted or guarded, those signals can be missed. But when your response is open and grounded, recognition becomes natural. Your response also affects how the other person moves. When someone is preparing to step forward with intention, they are extremely sensitive to cues. Not just spoken words, but emotional availability, presence, receptivity. When your response communicates safety, courage strengthens on the other side. When your response feels closed or dismissive, hesitation grows. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. Energy responds to energy. This does not mean you must initiate anything or reveal your thoughts prematurely. Response is not pursuit. It is availability. It is being fully present in interactions rather than guarded or distracted. It is listening without rehearsing defenses. It is allowing moments to unfold without rushing to define them. These subtle responses communicate more than words ever could. There is also a practical dimension to response that matters here. Staying connected to messages that sharpen your discernment helps you remain aligned as this unfolds. That is why engagement is important now. If this message resonates with you, acknowledge it. Like this video so it remains within your awareness. Leave a comment to mark this moment of recognition. Subscribe to the channel so you continue receiving guidance that prepares you rather than pressures you. These actions are not about obligation or numbers. They are about alignment. They help keep your focus tuned to clarity instead of confusion. Response also requires releasing the need to control outcomes. Control often disguises itself as caution, but it actually restricts how truth can emerge. When you try to manage timing, interpretation, or results, you narrow the space in which clarity can reveal itself. Responding with trust allows things to surface in their natural order, without distortion. Patience is another essential part of response. Not passive waiting, but attentive patience. This is the kind that notices progression without demanding immediate definition. It allows meaning to build instead of forcing conclusions. Impatience often comes from fear of uncertainty, but patience signals confidence and alignment. It tells the moment that it is safe to reveal itself fully. You may feel the urge to test the situation, to look for reassurance, or to provoke clarity before it arrives organically. This urge is understandable, but it often comes from anxiety rather than wisdom. Testing can create pressure where none is needed. Responding wisely means trusting that what is forming will become clear without interrogation. Your response also includes how you treat yourself during this time. Stay grounded in your routines. Stay anchored in your values. Do not suspend your life waiting for something to happen. Alignment integrates into your life. It does not interrupt it. When you remain whole and centered, what approaches you will meet you on equal ground rather than filling a gap. As you respond from this place, you may notice subtle shifts almost immediately. Communication may become more consistent. Interactions may carry more weight. There may be a sense of intention that feels calm rather than intense. These are signs that response is activating alignment. You are not forcing movement. You are allowing momentum. Remember, response does not guarantee a specific outcome. What it guarantees is clarity. And clarity is the real gift here. With clarity, you can respond wisely when the moment arrives. Without it, you are left guessing. Your response now invites clarity forward. Stay attentive to what unfolds next, because the nature of what is being prepared, the proposal itself, will soon become clearer, and understanding that will change how you see everything that has happened so far. Now it is time to speak about the proposal itself, because what is being prepared is not ordinary, and it is not shaped by impulse or fantasy. This proposal carries intention, depth, and a sense of permanence that may surprise you. It is not about performance or grand display. It is about truth being spoken at the right moment, in the right way, with the right weight behind it. When it comes, it will feel less like a sudden event and more like the natural next step of something that has already been forming. The nature of this proposal is rooted in covenant rather than excitement. That does not mean it lacks emotion. It means the emotion is anchored. This person is not coming to you swept away by temporary feeling. They are coming with clarity about what they want to build and what they are willing to protect. Their words will carry seriousness, not pressure, confidence and not urgency. You may notice that what stands out most is not how dramatic the moment is, but how sincere it feels. There is a reason this proposal has taken time. Before someone can offer a future, they must decide internally that they are willing to show up consistently, even when feelings fluctuate or circumstances shift. That decision has already been made. The proposal is simply the external expression of an internal conclusion that has been settled over time. That is why it will not feel unstable or rushed. You may have expected a proposal to look a certain way based on past experiences or cultural ideas. This one may differ from those expectations. It may arrive quietly, in a moment that feels ordinary on the surface but carries extraordinary meaning underneath. Or it may arrive after a conversation that suddenly deepens beyond what you anticipated. Either way, it will not rely on spectacle to prove its sincerity. The sincerity will be evident in the words chosen, the timing, and the consistency that follows. One of the most important things to understand is that this proposal is not just about romance, it is about partnership. The person preparing it has considered how your lives fit together practically, emotionally, and spiritually. They have imagined shared responsibility, not just shared happiness. That level of consideration changes how a proposal is delivered. It becomes less about convincing and more about inviting. When the moment comes, you may feel a sense of familiarity mixed with surprise. Familiarity because your spirit has already been aware of this connection. Surprise because seeing intention spoken aloud often carries a weight that anticipation cannot fully prepare you for. That combination is significant. It signals that what is happening is aligned with something deeper than surface attraction. You will also notice that this proposal does not demand an immediate answer. It respects your autonomy. Someone who has prepared this carefully understands that true commitment cannot be forced or rushed. They are offering, not cornering. Inviting, not insisting. That respect is part of the intention. It creates space for an honest response rather than a pressured one. There may be vulnerability in their delivery. Not insecurity, but openness. The kind that acknowledges risk without being ruled by it. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but in this context, it is strength. It means they are willing to be seen fully, without armor. That alone sets this apart from many past experiences you may have had. The proposal will also carry clarity about boundaries and expectations. Not in a rigid way, but in a grounded one. You may hear words that reflect forethought rather than improvisation. Statements that show they have imagined longevity, not just possibility. This clarity is meant to create safety, not limitation. It allows both of you to step forward with eyes open. Emotionally, you may experience a calm beneath the excitement. A sense that something is clicking into place rather than exploding into chaos. This calm is important. It indicates alignment rather than adrenaline. Many people confuse intensity with significance, but lasting connections are often marked by steadiness. What is being offered here has been tested internally before ever reaching you. It is also possible that the proposal challenges some of your assumptions about how commitment should feel. If you are used to unpredictability, steadiness may feel unfamiliar. If you are used to chasing clarity, receiving it may feel disorienting at first. That does not mean something is wrong. It means something is different. And different does not require resistance. It requires openness. This moment is not meant to complete you or rescue you. It is meant to meet you where you already stand. The proposal is an addition, not a replacement. It recognizes your wholeness rather than trying to fill a void. That is why it carries respect and intention rather than urgency. When it arrives, you will not need to analyze whether it is real. A consistency that follows will confirm it. Words will be supported by actions. Interest will be matched by effort. Presence will be sustained over time. These are the markers of a proposal that has been prepared rather than imagined. Everything that has led to this point, the waiting, the hidden work, the awareness, has shaped the nature of what is being offered. This is not a moment meant to overwhelm you, but to invite you into clarity. And once you see it for what it is, you will understand why it could only arrive now and not before. What remains is a final confirmation that will quiet any lingering doubt and remind you that nothing aligned for you can miss its moment. Before this message comes to its final close, there is one last confirmation that needs to be spoken, because doubt often tries to surface right before clarity settles. This confirmation is not meant to convince you of something fragile, but to anchor you in something steady. Archangel Michael's presence here is not accidental, and it is not temporary. When he appears at the final stage of a message like this, it is to assure you that what is unfolding is guarded, guided, and aligned beyond human emotion alone. Archangel Michael's role at this point is reassurance. He stands as a reminder that nothing meant for you can be taken from you by distraction, delay, or fear. Divine timing is not fragile. It does not collapse because of hesitation or uncertainty. It adjusts, it protects, and it completes what it begins. This means you are not walking on thin ice. You are standing on firm ground, even if you cannot yet see the full path ahead. If doubt has whispered to you, it has likely taken familiar forms. Thoughts like, what if I'm misreading this? Or what if this doesn't turn out the way I hope? These questions are not signs of disbelief. They are signs of transition. Whenever something moves from the unseen into the seen, the mind tries to regain control by questioning. Archangel Michael's confirmation is simple. You are not imagining alignment, and you are not forcing meaning where none exists. What you are sensing is real because it has been prepared. There is also reassurance for your past. Nothing you experienced before this moment disqualifies you from what is approaching now. Past disappointments did not ruin your discernment. They refined it. Past delays did not mean you were overlooked. They meant timing was being protected. Archangel Michael does not erase your history. He redeems it by using it to strengthen your awareness and wisdom. What once caused pain has become preparation. You are also being reassured about pace. There is no need to rush this next phase or brace yourself for chaos. What is unfolding does not require hypervigilance. It requires steadiness. When something is divinely aligned, it does not demand anxiety to sustain it. Peace becomes the indicator that you are moving in the right direction. If you feel peace beneath curiosity, beneath anticipation, beneath even uncertainty, that is confirmation. Another layer of reassurance is about choice. You are not being trapped into a predetermined outcome. Alignment does not remove free will, it honors it. You will still choose how to respond, how to engage, and how deeply to step in. What Archangel Michael confirms is that you will have clarity when the choice presents itself. You will not be asked to decide in confusion or pressure. Understanding will meet you where you stand. You may also be reassured to know that protection remains active even after awareness. As things move forward, not everything needs to be shared with everyone. Not every moment needs commentary. Part of divine protection is privacy. Allow things to unfold without inviting unnecessary opinions or interference. What is meant to grow needs space as much as it needs light. There is reassurance about worthiness as well. You do not need to become more, fix something, or prove anything to deserve what is approaching. You are being met as you are, not as a project or a potential. That is an important distinction. Being chosen for who you already are creates safety. It allows connection to be built on authenticity rather than performance. If fear rises, it is likely tied to vulnerability rather than danger. Vulnerability feels risky because it opens the heart to possibility. Archangel Michael's confirmation here is that vulnerability does not equal loss. It equals participation. Without vulnerability, nothing meaningful can be received fully. Protection does not remove vulnerability. It ensures it is not wasted. This final confirmation also addresses timing again. You may still wonder why everything had to happen in this order. Why awareness came before action. Why clarity unfolded in layers rather than all at once. The answer is balance. Too much information too soon overwhelms. Too little keeps you unprepared. What you have received has been measured precisely to meet you where you are. Nothing is behind schedule. Nothing is rushing ahead prematurely. The moment you are approaching is arriving with intention, not urgency. That alone should quiet the part of you that fears missing out. You are not chasing anything. You are being approached by clarity. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that divine alignment does not lead to confusion. It leads to understanding. It does not create chaos. It creates order. If you remain grounded, present, and honest with yourself, what unfolds next will make sense in a way that feels both surprising and familiar. As you move toward the close of this message, hold on to this assurance: what is meant for you is not fragile, and you are not late. The awareness you have received is enough. The preparation you have undergone is sufficient. And the clarity that is coming will meet you at the exact moment you are ready to receive it without fear. What remains now is not anticipation, but trust. And with trust, the final piece of this message will bring everything together with peace, blessing, and upliftment. As this message comes to its final moment, everything that has been revealed now settles into a single, steady truth. Nothing about this journey was accidental, delayed by mistake, or misplaced in timing. What began with urgency was meant to awaken you, but what it ends with is peace, because peace is the final confirmation of alignment. Urgency calls your attention, but peace tells you that you are standing exactly where you are meant to stand. This was never about creating anxiety or expectation. It was about preparing your awareness so that when what has been forming finally becomes visible, you meet it with clarity rather than confusion. You were not asked to chase anything, fix anything, or force anything. You were asked only to recognize. And recognition changes everything. Looking back now, you can see how every part of this message unfolded in order. First came awareness, gently pulling you out of autopilot. Then came understanding, explaining what had been happening behind the scenes. Then came response, inviting you to stay present instead of passive. Then clarity replaced doubt, and protection replaced fear. Nothing was right. Nothing was skipped. Every layer was given to you at the moment you were ready to receive it. This is how divine order works. It does not overwhelm the heart. It strengthened it step by step. And now, at the close, what remains is not tension, but assurance. Assurance that what is meant for you cannot bypass you. Assurance that you will recognize truth when it arrives, not because someone told you to believe it, but because your spirit will feel settled in its presence. There is nothing more you need to search for right now. No hidden test. No vital sign you must demand. The message has completed its purpose. The rest unfolds in real time, through real interactions and real moments. But you step into that continuation prepared, grounded, and aware. If impatience tries to return, remember this: impatience fades when trust is strong. Trust grows when peace is present. And peace is what now surrounds this situation. That peace is not passivity. It is confidence without strain. It allows you to move forward without fear guiding your decisions. You are not the same person you were before this message reached you. Something has shifted internally. Your discernment is clearer. Your self-worth is steadier. Your willingness to receive without suspicion has grown. That inner change is what ensures that what approaches you will meet you at the right level, not beneath it. This message also closes with reassurance about your worth. You were never being evaluated or tested. You were being prepared to receive something sincere without minimizing it or overfaking it. You do not need to become more impressive, more healed, or more perfect. You are being met where you are, not where you pretend to be. As this chapter ends, release the need to anticipate every detail. Anticipation pulls you out of the present moment. Presence allows you to receive what is actually happening. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay honest with yourself. That is all alignment ever asks. What is coming does not require you to abandon your peace to receive it. If something demands chaos, it is not aligned. What is meant for you will arrive in a way that honors your growth, respects your boundaries, and confirms itself through consistency rather than confusion. This is not the end of a story. It is the completion of preparation. The path ahead is not unclear, it is simply unwritten in detail. And that is intentional. You are meant to walk it with trust, not fear. Carry this assurance with you. Nothing aligned for you can miss you, and nothing meant for you will require you to betray yourself. When the moment arrives, you will know, not because of urgency, but because of peace. Type "I trust divine timing" in the comments if this message has settled into your spirit. Blessing code 911 is now activated. What you have received now is not only for you. It is light meant to reach countless souls who are still waiting for confirmation. When you give, you are sowing into hearts that feel unseen, and God is already preparing the harvest. Scripture speaks of oil that never runs dry, and your obedience becomes part of that divine flow. I am speaking to you directly. This is your moment to respond as heaven moves. Your super thanks, channel membership, or PayPal gift is not a donation. It is a prophetic act that releases this message to others. The PayPal donation link is in the description, and the PayPal QR code may appear as a door for immediate obedience. I speak blessing over every giver now. May what you release return multiplied. Act now and fulfill the assignment placed in your hands.